Class. Come, gentlemen. And first I'd like to talk about how your music evolves. Is it that you two work on ideas and then present it to the band? Or does lots of the music sort of develop in sessions with everybody?
Really, it's kind of, it's me and Nick, we just kind of get the tracks together in the studio. And then, you know, sometimes Owen may play some drums on a track, or, you know, Kath may do some singing. Yeah. Or whatever, you know, we may get whatever, but really we just kind of get it together ourselves, and then we go out and, you know, practice it when it's finished and go and play live. Okay, and
I sort of imagine it to be quite difficult if you make funky music, not to let it loose too much, you know, and when I listen to your music, I always sort of feel that you have a strong, straight song in mind. It's very focused, and other people who try to make funky music, I can't imagine sort of they let it loose, sort of, you know, let it all thread out somehow.
Well, I guess, you know, what we wanted to do originally was make some kind of snappy kind of tracks, you know, and I guess that's always been an element of what we want to do. We never were into kind of self-indulgence for the sake of it. I mean, you know, on the other hand, if you think, oh, this track would be great if it lasted 20 minutes, then, you know, there's a kind of case for that. Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, we just kind of like to keep it kind of rolling along, you know, and then when we play live, we can kind of base it around that sort of simple kind of construction, but then we can afford to kind of take it somewhere else if we want to as well.
Nearly change it all.
Exactly. I think it's good to kind of have an aim and work to work somehow to some kind of structure, but then be able to kind of take it off somewhere as well. Yeah.
And this is a lyrics question now. Do you have written lyrics ready sort of when you go into the studio, or do you improvise over finished tracks?
We kind of do anyway, you know.
There's no recipe?
Not really. I mean, we do quite a lot of, you know, I guess just jamming on a groove till you get some good ideas. Yeah. You know, I think there's a lot of ideas sometimes just floating about in the air, and it's good.
Catch them.
Well, sort of, you know, you just got to, like, jam and get a good, you know, groove to what you're doing, as well as have it. I think once you start grooving on music in a good way, good lyrics kind of have to be a part of it somehow. You can't really, you know, like...
write it somewhere else without knowing what the song's going to be.
Together, really, I think, you know, I think the groove of what you do vocally somehow is really formed by the lyrics that are coming out.
And sort of, as a lyric writer, have you got any other sort of lyric writers you can relate to at the moment, or is that more sort of the hip-hop stuff at the moment?
There's, you know, it's like songs, really, you know. You just love songs. Some, you know, a lot of them are rap songs, and you love, like, what people are saying, but you also love the music. Some is like, you know, Sly Stone, where it's a totally different idea, or... Like with Led Zeppelin, I don't really like the lyrics, but I like the kind of... I like what they were as a group, you know, and the kind of energy they had. Yeah,
and that's sort of what they stood for somehow.
Yeah, somehow I think, you know, just sometimes people come with an energy, and you can kind of read things into their lyrics that mean something to you, but it's the kind of excitement of what they're doing as well, which really, you know, really gets you. Yeah. Sometimes you can get... You know, I found when I was trying to write lyrics a lot, you know, on paper, it got a bit like I was trying to think about it too much, and it didn't have the right feeling. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
Okay. And then you threw the paper away quickly.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I think, you know, for a while we probably had too many. After Connected, we had a lot of probably preconceptions, which we'd never had before. But somehow being successful and everybody kind of, you know. Almost everybody kind of becoming interested in you, then it makes you kind of suddenly think, oh, that's how we make our music, whereas before we'd never thought about it. Yeah. So we had to sort of forget how we thought we made our music to sort of start making it how we used to make it.
Yeah, so sort of also forget the... Yes, it does, definitely. Sort of forget the pressure that other people put on a band.
Yeah, and also I think, you know, it's like when you make music for a while, you have to sort of... somehow look a little bit deeper to get something out that isn't like miles away from what you were doing, but just to find a different element that you can work within what you're doing to give yourself a deeper meaning and a different direction that you can take it in.
Yeah. It's sort of also that you feel you're developing, that you can be happy with yourself somehow.
Yeah, because if you don't feel like you're developing... I mean, I think if we didn't feel like we were developing, we'd just stop doing it.
Yeah, but other bands sort of definitely, they have one recipe and one success, and then they sort of build onto that.
I think, that's why we didn't put a record out, because we were kind of working on music and we wasn't really sure where we wanted to go, and we weren't doing stuff where we thought... where it just kind of logically said, this is your next record.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to just put something out that we wasn't feeling 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll watch your new video now. Here's Stereo MCs with Deep Down and Dirty. Please, bitteschön. Und zurück bei Fast Forward mit den Stereo MCs hier in der schönsten Interview-Location der Welt. In those 8 years where you didn't release stuff and weren't on tour, was there any music you can remember sort of where you thought, oh my God, we have to get to work again? Sort of either really terrible music where you thought we're much better, or really good music that just made you feel, no, we have to bring something out now?
I think there's lots of stuff going, all the time going on, which is good. There's always some good music going on. And I think, some of it does inspire you to, just like being a fan of music, just hearing a song you love, just makes you feel inspired. But there's still old stuff, as well, that we kind of listen to. Some of it's, could be 20 years old or whatever, you can still kind of get an excitement from... That's the kind of music that we're kind of into, whether it's new or old, that has a kind of longevity to it, that, like when you just get a real charge when you hear the song, know.
And it always stays like that, no matter sort of what date it is.
You always know... If you love a record, you always know you can get the same feeling from it. You know that what the people put into it was there, and it's like, even if, like Rob was saying, even if you listen to it 20 years later, it's still there. And then you can hear a new record, and you kind of think, oh yeah, it's kind of okay, but then a week later you can be like, oh, exactly. I'm kind of not so sure about that. But there has been some great music made, from RZA and Wu-Tang Clan to, I guess, people like Beck and, things like that,
But that would have been my next question, sort of. I know that in the beginning, sort of from really old interviews, that you were influenced very strongly by hip-hop. And what do you think about sort of today's hip-hop now, sort of especially the American stuff?
Well, hip-hop is now, it's like the biggest form of music in the world, really. Whereas like 10 or 15 years ago, it was an underground sort of music. So things have changed a lot, It's like it's mainstream music now, and it means that there's a lot more people making hip-hop records, and because it's such a big business thing now, a lot more people are making it for business reasons as well. Yeah. So
and sort of know what is going to be successful. You can sort of see maybe that some hip-hoppers are sort of doing the same and same sort of over again.
With any form of music, pop music, it can start off incredible, and then there's always like people who just take it and imitate it. But there is still like brilliant hip-hop records made. Yeah. And I think for us, we just kind of want to feel like we kind of keep moving on, and I think people do keep moving on, and I think eventually things just keep turning around, and then some new music comes through.
Then it's sort of,
to a degree, it's quite a good time, even though it feels a bit like there's not much kind of really innovative kind of stuff about at the moment, but there is a lot of independent records being made, and people going back to making music really roughly again. And it's quite nice, and somehow that kind of thing is a bit like a bit of a hotbed, for like, things to be quite raw again.
To break it up somehow.
And I think that's when people start doing different things, so, it's a bit like we're kind of going around a bend, and you can't quite see, what's around the corner yet.
I think it happens in all, like in the 70s, I guess, it was very much, the early 70s was very dominated by quite self-indulgent sort of rock music, wasn't it? And then punk came along, and in a way the 80s was the same. You know, obviously like hip-hop was developing, but a lot of the 80s music that was in the charts and stuff was really bad. And then, you know, like to me, hip-hop came along and totally turned that upside down.
Because sort of stagnating stuff sort of gives other people a platform to get rid of it somehow.
Well, exactly. I mean, I guess people just get tired with hearing the same stuff all the time, and some new kind of thing comes through. I think probably this, you know, hopefully there'll be something, you know, some kids somewhere, 17, 18-year-old kids somewhere now, like doing something totally fresh.
And saying, we cannot stand it anymore.
Exactly.
We need new music. In an interview, you said that back then, fame destroyed us, or you, and...
I don't think we did say that, actually.
No, you didn't?
No.
Oh, no, okay, but it's... No, what is that thing, then, about it? Or what is sort of the explanation why you stopped?
It was just a lot of things, you know. I think it was more life issues, you know. We both, I guess it's just a coincidence that it was at a time when we'd reached the kind of peak of whatever success, selling records and stuff. It just happened that we just kind of got home after touring for 2 years, and really I guess our personal lives and stuff weren't really that great. And also... you know, maybe kind of being successful does change what you do. It changes how you think about it. And I think all those things just coincided, and it ended up turning into a period of really re-establishing our lives from a basic level, just being at home, you know, I guess, you know, like having a family life.
Sort of starting over again somehow.
Grounding ourselves and figuring out where we wanted to take our music again. Because, you know, I guess there's two ways you could go. You could just become more and more successful and just become more of a cliche and become like a pop star and love that kind of lifestyle. Or you could just go, well, you know, let's just check out what we're doing. And, you know, it turned into... a thing where we wasn't sure what we were doing. We had to find what we wanted to do again. And I think, actually, that was the best thing for us, because if we put another record out immediately after, we probably would have split up. Because I think the whole machinery of the music business kind of crushes you if you're not prepared for it. You know what I mean? And I think we've spent the time... strengthening ourselves and finding a new place we want to take our music.
And in that time then, you built a studio, you founded a record label,
you know,
a publishing company also?
Yeah, you know, it's just parts of what we do, you know. Because, you know, we're signed to a publishing label ourselves, and they said, oh, we'll give you a little kind of blueprint of your own. And, you know, we signed a couple of people like Finley Quay, who did really well in England, and Jurassic 5, whose music we love. And then we started a little label. We just put out low-key records, you know. You know, from records that sold 200 to records that sold 1 million. It's just kind of, to us, it was just music. We didn't know if any of it would sell or not sell. It wasn't...
Sort of picking out what you really like.
I guess that was just kind of what our taste was in what we heard, And then we built a studio and we was doing remixes.
But is it also sort of building a studio and stuff, sort of the idea behind it wanting to be more independent from large record labels or something?
Well, you know, I mean, to a degree, we've kind of always had our own independence. You know, because we do things how we want to do it, and that's the bottom line. But getting our studio was really us getting back to our roots, because we've always done our stuff in our own environment. In the beginning, we used to, like, share a flat, so we'd be working in our front room. But after we'd kind of, you know, around the time of making Connected and touring it, you know, our lives kind of, you know, Nick had family and stuff, and my life was going in this direction, and we couldn't really share a flat anymore. So when we came back from touring, we didn't actually have anywhere to work anymore. So it was kind of difficult time. And building a studio meant that we was a bit like going back to living in the same flat again, only it was it was both our second home. You know, so where we could just kind of hang out, you know, put our own vibes about and just work on music and, you know, kind of sit back a bit and sit back from the business, but totally keep up with our music, really. It was a way of getting away from all the stuff which is just the meddling with your mind, and just focusing on what you're doing, you know, because, like, at the end of the day, that's all you need, really, to be able to see the street where you live, you know what I mean, and feel a bit of sunshine and do your music.
Yeah, and the next video we're going to watch is Connected. How do you feel about that today?
You know, it's like a track that we did, and we still, you know, we're playing it live again now. After we'd rehearsed the new tracks, we kind of went back to some of the older ones, and they sounded as fresh or fresher than when we were doing them before, and we were like, yeah, it sounds good, man. Good. And, you know, we like that song. Yeah,
because other bands sort of, you know, would say, no, oh God, we won't play it anymore. You know, that also happens, that they refuse to play it on stage.
Like, you know, it's a stomper, man. You know what I mean? That track is a stomper. And, you know, all our tracks, you know, it's like we wouldn't make a track if we thought that one day we'd feel crap about playing it. It's like, you know, what's the big deal? Loads of people loved it. It's like, that's incredible, man.
That's the main thing, sort of, about bands sort of refusing to play sort of that song or whatever, sort of, and lots of people just want to hear it. I always think it's really mean not to play it somehow. Okay, so here goes Connected. Stereo MCs, bitteschön. Und zurück bei Fast Forward. Hier sitzen die Stereo MCs bei mir auf der Couch. I'd like to know, do you still do remixes? Have you got time at the moment to do that?
Not really, no. I mean, you know, we're kind of checking stuff that comes through. And if something came that we was into, we'd see if we could do it. But we are pretty busy at the moment, and you know, it's like sometimes there's just not enough hours in the day or days in the week, you know, to be able to do everything.
Society is more sort of choosing from the offers instead of going out and asking people.
We've always, well, you know, we pretty much most of the time we've done stuff really that we felt we were into. You know, we haven't really done stuff just for the money. You know, there may have been one case here or there where we did that. Little one. But you know what I mean? That's our general thing. It's like, what's the point if we're not into it? What's the point in doing it? Because you know, that's not why we do music. Just to, you know what I mean? We do music because we love doing it.
And what do you think should sort of a remix do to a track? You know, because lots of people love remixing songs and just sort of messing it up completely, so you don't recognise the original anymore. What do you think?
I think with us, we like to do a mix of a track where we feel that the vocal is really strong vocal, because we keep the vocals, which a lot of people don't do, and we try and do something sympathetic and fits with the vocals. You know, a lot of people will do a kind of mix that is designed for this club or that club, you know, it's a sort of like banging blah blah remix and stuff, and quite often the vocals just kind of don't work because it's sort of being irrelevant to the people making it. I guess we just try and do something that's sympathetic, isn't like particularly designed for any particular club, just try and do like a mix with our take on it, keeping the vocal intact.
Okay, and you're going on tour in Germany also, aren't you? When is that start?
A couple of weeks, I think, sort of around May the 25th or 26th. We're playing in Cologne, Berlin, Hamburg and Munich.
Oh, okay, all the large cities then. Okay, thank you very much. We're done. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Sweaty hands, sorry.